Welcome everybody to Happy Wolf Art and my new video series called Artistic Choices. And for this first episode, we're going to be looking at Loeb and Romita Jr.'s Fall of the Hulk. And the inspiration behind this series is as I'm reading different comics, certain artistic choices in composition often stand out to me. Sometimes as mistakes, sometimes as ingenious. And so I just wanted to talk about those, share those with you as artists going through the process. These are all learning things for myself and maybe learning things for others as you're also going through the process. So, John Romita Jr., I have a little bit of a guilty conscience about starting the series with John Romita Jr. I personally love his style. I know there's sort of a you either like or don't like him feeling in the industry, but I think he's great. He's a wonderful storyteller. I love some of his simplistic choices in his drawing as far as not over rendering and stuff. But anyways, let's jump in and have a quick look at these things that I've come across in the process. So if you haven't read this story, a wonderful story, I wanted to start off with this panel, just looking at the composition, a wonderful composition. It has the traditional L feature here. I'm going to use my finger going vertical and then horizontal, right? Directing the viewer's eyes to the main characters. Also, we have these horizontal lines. We have the red tape. We have this other one, the white tape. We have the base of, I forget what this is called here. All of these horizontal lines going back in space. And then if we look at the figures, these little flags jumped out at me as really interesting. Right, the furthest flag away is pointing towards Captain America. It's directing the viewer's eyes to the second flag is pointing forward toward the character in front of Captain America, and the other is pointing towards this water feature. Right, even the landscape is significant in directing the viewer's eyes. You can see here the tree line is pointing back towards the Capitol building, and even the crowd in the background is also directing the viewer's eyes back here. So, and this is all part of John Romita's storytelling that I love so much. So this is just a wonderful composition that stood out to me as something very interesting and unique. Now, I won't give you the details on this character, but what stood out to me on these panels is obviously you see this character being lifted. My eyes followed all of these attachments to the lines, and the character is being lifted. When I got down to the third panel, you notice that the lines aren't attached to the outside of the leg. Like in the second panel, you see these squares on the outside. Okay, and so they're not attached on the outside, and at that point I have to ask, why not? And I think it's a visually more appealing image. You have this really clear outline without those things on the outside. Perhaps it's a conscious decision, perhaps not. I'm not sure, but nonetheless, even this line on the foot, if you look in the second panel, there's no line going directly in front of the foot. So these are all decisions that we make as artists, and they're not always consistent. Sometimes we forget or we make changes, and we don't even know what we did in a previous panel sometimes. And so the editing process, going back and looking for those consistencies is one of the things that we have to do. But this isn't a criticism. It's just something that's interesting that stood out to me. Also, these lines are really clean, right? Directing the eye up to the helicopter. And if you notice, this helicopter has one wheel. Okay, that is problematic for landing. But if there were to be another wheel here, perhaps it would clutter the image and not direct the viewer's eye so succinctly back up to the helicopter. Not quite sure. Maybe he didn't draw it in just because he was drawing quickly. Who knows? But yeah, nonetheless, that one stood out to me also. All right, and if we go over to this chapel picture, this I didn't know what initially to make of this, actually. So we see sort of this big glass window, which is often above a doorway. Okay, and that doorway is set theoretically back behind the pillars in reality. But as you see, this golden arch is coming forward in front of the pillars. I'll use this to illustrate that. You can see that it's clearly in front of the pillar, and that suggests that this piece of glass is also in front of the pillar. And my thought is it should be set behind the pillar. And I thought, well, is that a intentional decision by the creator, by the artist, perhaps, to draw attention to that space, to draw your eye back in there? And so the artist made the decision of popping it in front of the pillars, which would be strange and wrong in reality. Ultimately, what answers this question is on a later panel. It's actually a fair number of pages later. And let's see, where did it go? It's in this small panel. So there's actually a tunnel that extends out past the pillars, and that glass window is set back theoretically behind the pillars as it would be in reality. And so if we go back to this page that we're looking at, then we can see that this is supposed to be a tunnel extending out past the pillars. And and it is just rendered the way it was for whatever reason. I think he was trying to extend it out as a tunnel, but the gold suggests, similar to this yellow goldish color, that it's a window and it should be back in space behind the pillars. Anyways, that one just stood out to me as interesting, and I had to think about it when I saw it, and when I came across this later panel that answered my question. And then the last one, I just want to look at this panel. Cars are notoriously difficult. You can see the wheels, and the wheel wells are a little bit strange here. But what stood out to me on this one is are the guns, right? These guns are massive. I don't know if they're 50 calibers or what, but they're as tall as a soldier. And that was probably a choice not to depict reality per se, but to emphasize a design feature. And if I zoom out so that the eye can see it, and it's clear to the viewer that they are holding a gun, a weapon. Let's see, in this panel, he does keep the height of the gun near the shoulder, and so that's consistent here. So he is consistent with that choice. But these are massive guns that I've never seen that large before. But these are all things that play into Romita's storytelling, and they're significant for a reason. I think here it's a design choice, possibly, so that if it was a smaller gun, the viewer might not see it, and it probably wouldn't extend too far past this tree line, and it may get lost in the trees as a type of shadow. So it extending past the tree line into the sky, it's clearly a weapon there. So anyways, yeah, artistic choices, it's all part of what we do as artists. And yeah, if you're interested in this title, Fall of the Hulk, this is the Red Hulk, Gamma, super fun read, and highly recommend it. And let me know what you think regarding these artistic choices here in comments, and hopefully if you like the video, maybe click thumbs up. If you're interested in this series, also consider subscribing. And my personal Instagram page is Happy Wolf Art 1, happy underscore wolf underscore art 1. So anyways, thanks for stopping by. Talk to you again soon. Bye.